Yeah, because I see what you know. I mean, you're the serial entrepreneur. You got your import export business going on, but you also wrote your book. You also got your podcast going and other things. You're refereeing and stuff like that. Um, I guess. Well, I'm putting myself in this scenario. It took me a long time to figure out how to actually do for self. Not just have one hustle going on, but just learn how to spend 5 or 6 different tables, different places at one time. Uh, for somebody like me to come over there, what would be the best? I guess yeah, best opportunity to go over there, and become that type of entrepreneur.
Well, dog, it's going to take a great lot of sacrifice. That's one thing that you got to realize, that you're actually telling yourself that you're willing and ready to leave everything that you have ever known behind to pursue something that you want to do.
Uh huh.
That takes a lot of courage, bro.
Right.
That's not something you take lightly.
Right.
So that's what you got to face. That's what you got to look in your mirror and ask yourself that question within yourself. Are you ready to do that? If you're not, then no. Come have a visit. Come visit, do some trade. Come over, visit trade shows or trade events like that. Get out of it what you can, and go back to where you're going back to. But that's what it's going to take, man. That's what it's going to take for anybody to actually move out of the United States and relocate to another country. That's what you got to be willing to give up.
Leave everything behind.
Leave everything behind and go for it. If you're not ready to do that, then I suggest that you don't, not you, but the person themselves don't even entertain that thought. You can entertain that thought, but you're not going to take that step to do it, because that's
How
what's going to be required.
how much money would somebody need to bring to do that?
It's not, I mean, money is always important to have. It's best to have, not need, and even not have, right? We all understand that. But money is not going to save you. Is when you do it, you got to be determined to do that. Because again, you have a lot of companies that have a lot of money that came over here and think they could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of dollars, and think they could penetrate this market. And they fail, you know. So it's all about what are you willing to do to make it here. And
All right.
it takes a lot out of you.
They failed. You
It makes
didn't.
you.
You're 20 years into it. Okay. What did they do different from you? You done said a couple things, but what did they do different from you? What how I guess the better question is what did you do different from them?
I learned real fast to do business. I learned real fast to do business here. Most people that come here, if they're not working for a corporation, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in that capacity, or if they're not a family member supporting somebody who works for a corporation, they either came over here in that capacity, or they came over here to teach,
Okay.
okay, to get into the country to teach, or they came over here as a student. I came over here as a student.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And during that process as a student, instead of me uh, talking about uh, what America is like, I talked to them to understand what China is like. I did
Mm-hmm.
a lot of comparison between Black America and China. I didn't do a comparison too much about what America is. I did what compared to the students, and I would ask them questions about what does it take to live here as a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking to young people telling me these are the things that you need to do, these are the things that you need to avoid. And one of the students is a good friend of mine to this very day. He told me, he said, William, if you're gonna make it, the first thing you gotta do is start a business. This is a Chinese kid told me, he said, when you start a business, you can make it here. And then somebody approached me later on when I was working on my PhD, and I talked about in my book, hey, William, you want to start a business? We'll teach you how to do business in China. We'll teach you how to penetrate the U.S. market. And I said, boom, that's the deal right there. Twice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when people come to me and they ask me that same question, because they are teachers and they want to get out of that industry, they will do something different. And William, what can I do? I said, start a business. You know, if you want to be here, you got to start a business because, like any country, they rather for you to employ somebody rather than you be an employee as a foreigner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you employ somebody in China, that's you're paying for their housing, their medical health, stuff like Social Security. You're paying for that, and so that's not putting a burden on the system. You're supporting them, and then that actually shows that you are open to doing something to contribute back to the country,
Mm-hmm.
and things open up for you in that way. And then another thing is get on the local level. Do type things that you do that you have done or are not doing in the U.S. So I went into coaching. I played little sports. I knew something, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't raised to be a coach. I was just an athlete.
Right.
Even I just I just went from what I felt I knew,
Right.
and just asked the brother who was coaching, and I started coaching American football over here. So
Mm-hmm.
that got me on the local level still. That kept me grounded in the community, dealing with families, dealing with Chinese kids. That kept me grounded. So as I continued, and I continue to the day. So people always call me up, William, we got a game this weekend. So they know I'm here, they know I'm reliable, and that's it. You just gotta pretty much engulf yourself into the community.